Some people feel older than their age because life never gave them the luxury of growing slowly. While others moved through childhood with softness and safety, they were learning how to survive. Responsibility arrived early. Fear arrived early. Awareness arrived early. And with every moment they had to act older than they were, a piece of their youth quietly faded. They didn't become mature out of wisdom, they became mature out of necessity. Their mind learned to scan for danger. Their heart learned to stay guarded. Their body learned to hold stress like a secret. So even as their age stays young, their inner world carries the exhaustion of someone who has lived too many emotional years. Feeling older is not about time, it's about weight. The weight of experiences they were never ready for, yet had to carry anyway. A silent aging that begins long before anyone sees it. For many people who feel older than their age, the root lies in a childhood that never felt like one. While other kids were allowed to be loud, messy, playful, and carefree, they were learning how to navigate stress, conflict, and emotional responsibility. Some became the mediator in a broken home. Some became the caretaker for siblings. Some became the emotional support for parents who were struggling themselves. This early role reversal forces a child to step into adulthood long before their mind is ready. They grow up watching too much, understanding too much, and carrying too much. Their innocence, they doesn't end in a single moment. It erodes slowly under the weight of expectations they never chose. And when childhood is spent filling adult shoes, emotional aging becomes inevitable. They don't just grow older, they grow tired. In some lives, innocence doesn't fade gently, it's taken abruptly, in moments that change everything. A child might witness conflict they can't understand, hear words they were never meant to hear, or feel emotions too heavy for their small heart. These experiences create an internal shift. The world stops feeling safe, and they stop feeling young. When innocence ends early, they begin to see life through the eyes of someone much older. They learn to anticipate problems before they happen. They stay alert, cautious, prepared. Joy becomes something they analyze instead of simply feel. Even in calm moments, a part of them remains braced for impact. This early exposure to emotional complexity speeds up their inner development, but it also steals the softness they deserved. They age in silence, carrying memories they never fully process and carrying wisdom they never actually asked for. Some people feel older than their age because they grew up believing they had no right to fall apart. They were expected to stay calm, handle everything, and be strong, even when they were breaking inside. This pressure doesn't come with loud commands, it comes with subtle expectations, unspoken roles, and the fear of letting others down. Over time, strength becomes a mask they can't remove. They stop asking for help. They stop expressing needs. They stop admitting pain. And the world begins to see them as someone who can handle anything. But the truth is different. Being strong was never their nature, it was their duty. And carrying that duty for years makes them age emotionally, long before adulthood truly begins. Overthinking is one of the quietest forms of emotional aging. When someone learns to analyze everything, every expression, every silence, every shift in tone, they begin to carry a mental load far heavier than their actual years. Instead of simply experiencing life, they study it, trying to predict outcomes and prevent pain. This constant mental scanning forces the brain into a state of maturity long before the heart is ready. They anticipate problems that may never happen. They replay conversations until they lose meaning. They imagine worst-case scenarios as a way to feel prepared. While others their age live in moments, they live in possibilities, most of them negative. And over time, This endless internal dialogue drains the lightness they should have known. Emotional overthinking doesn't just tire the mind, it ages the soul, leaving them older inside than the calendar ever shows. Trauma doesn't just leave memories, it reshapes the entire timeline of a person's emotional life. When someone experiences pain that overwhelms their ability to cope, the mind adapts by growing up faster than it should. They become hyper-aware, hyper-responsible, and hypersensitive to danger. What should belong to adulthood: fear, management, emotional regulation, survival thinking shows up in childhood or adolescence. Trauma compresses years of emotional development into moments of shock. A single event can make someone feel decades older inside because it forces them to confront realities their age was never meant to hold. They stop seeing the world with curiosity and start seeing it with caution. They stop living freely and start living protectively. This internal shift lingers long after the trauma ends. Even in safe environments, they carry the weight of past wounds, and that weight becomes the emotional age gap and invisible aging, born from experiences that arrived too soon. Some people feel older than their age because they stepped into the caregiver role long before they understood what it meant. As children, they learn to comfort crying parents, settle arguments, protect siblings, and hold emotions that were never theirs to carry. Instead of receiving guidance, they became the guide. Instead of being nurtured, they became the nurturer. This reversal steals childhood quietly. It teaches them to prioritize others' needs over their own, to stay composed even when overwhelmed, and to fix problems they didn't create. With time, caring becomes their identity, an identity built on responsibility, not choice. And while the world admires their maturity, they know it came at a cost. The innocence they never got to live. Growing up as the emotional adult in the family ages the heart long before the body ever catches up. There is a kind of tiredness that doesn't come from lack of sleep, it comes from carrying emotions that were never processed. People who feel older than their age often describe a deep exhaustion that lives in their bones, a heaviness that rests behind their eyes, and a fatigue that lingers even after rest. This is not physical tiredness, it is emotional depletion. They have spent years staying alert, staying responsible, staying strong, staying aware. Their mind never fully shuts off, and their heart never fully relaxes. So even when their body rests, their inner world keeps working, thinking, worrying, preparing. This creates a weariness that feels ancient, as if they've lived multiple lives in one. It's the kind of tiredness that sleep can't heal because it isn't about energy, it's about emotional weight. And that weight makes them feel far older than the number on their birthday. People who feel older than their age often struggle to connect with peers who haven't lived the same emotional intensity. While others their age talk about trends, excitement, or simple worries, they think about responsibility, safety, and deeper questions about life. This creates a quiet distance, an invisible gap no one else notices, but they feel every time they try to fit in. They may sit in a group but feel alone. They may laugh along but feel separate. Their maturity isn't a choice. It grew from experiences that forced them to see the world differently. Because of this, they often bond more easily with older individuals, people who carry similar emotional weight. With peers, they feel out of sync, too serious, too aware, too grown. It's not that they don't want connection. It's that their inner world simply aged faster than everyone else's. Being called an old soul sounds poetic, but for many, it's just a mask, something they wear because life demanded wisdom before they were ready. People admire their calmness, their depth, their thoughtful nature, but they rarely see the pain that shaped it. Behind the old soul exterior is someone who learned early that innocence wasn't safe, that vulnerability could be used against them, and that understanding others was the best way to avoid being hurt. So wisdom became their shield. Maturity became protection. They appear grounded, reflective, and emotionally stable, but inside, they're carrying years of unspoken fears and unprocessed memories. The old soul mask is not a sign of natural maturity. It's a survival strategy, worn by someone who had to grow up without ever getting the chance to simply be young. Some people feel older than their age because they see too much, feel too deeply, and understand things long before others even notice them. This self-awareness is praised from the outside, but inside, it feels like a constant weight. They notice every shift in someone's tone, every unspoken tension, every emotional ripple in a room. Their mind is always interpreting, analyzing, anticipating. This level of awareness forces them into emotional adulthood early. They can't ignore red flags. They can't pretend things are simple. They can't switch off the part of their brain that's always scanning for meaning. And while others move through life with lightness, they carry the burden of knowing too much about people, about pain, about themselves. Self-awareness becomes both a gift and a prison. It sharpens their mind but tires their spirit, aging them from the inside in ways no one else can see. Healing the emotional age gap begins with acknowledging the parts of yourself that never had the chance to grow naturally. For years, these individuals carried responsibilities, fears, and expectations that pushed them into adulthood long before they were ready. To heal, they must gently reconnect with the younger self they left behind, the one who wanted safety, softness, play, and protection. This healing doesn't mean erasing maturity. It means giving the inner child space to breathe. Again, it means allowing moments of joy without guilt, rest without justification, and vulnerability without shame. It requires unlearning the belief that they must always be strong, always composed, always aware. Over time, they begin to reclaim the years they lost, slowly, quietly, intentionally. And as they soften back into themselves, the emotional weight begins to lift. They don't become younger, they simply become whole. Healing is not about returning to who they were, but becoming the version of themselves who no longer has to age prematurely